It's been a long time, but we finally have some news from Manor Lords, which is this kind of medieval city builder slash RTS game, which is very ambitious and looks absolutely phenomenal. The game is not dead, they're just very busy making the game actually, but there is a Q&A that is available on Steam, and a lot of very interesting questions have been asked. Now, we're going to talk about first population as well as game mechanics question, but they also cover things like war and other random questions like, family crests or region, basically geography, right? We're not going to talk about it. If you're interested, I can make a second video another day maybe, because otherwise it's just going to be a little bit too long, right? So, first, talking about peasants, right? How do peasants spawn? And apparently, we've been being told that they just spawn, right? They're not born. They don't just randomly die, right? They just come from the edge of the map. And let's say, for example, there are opportunities for them to come and have some jobs, right? That's what will be happening. Next, do they have a profile? Yes, each of the peasants are actually individual NPCs with their own name. They're going to have their own home and their own job. It would be possible for NPCs to change jobs. Let's say, for example, one of the peasant is a farmer. They can eventually become an artisan, and maybe they can become eventually a soldier, right? But you can actually convert these NPCs and tell them to change their jobs if you desire. So, because in the end, you will be the lord of the area, right? Just like, for example, do NPCs get born? No, they just spawn. Do they die of old age? And the answer is also no. Would they be able to die because of war? That is another question. Would they be able to die because of famine or because of disease? Yes, but not because of old age, simply because it just would take way too long, and that definitely makes sense. Is there a population cap? And surprisingly, the answer is no. The only cap that there is that the game cannot handle more than 16,384 NPCs as of right now, but that just would be a massive city. Even back in those days, cities were not really that big. Settlements were not that big. They were mostly small villages, and a town with over 1,000 people was considered a major settlement back in those days. So it definitely makes sense here to that 16,000. I think it's going to take a huge amount of time and energy to get, and at some point they do say that your CPU would explode. So it will be interesting to see what kind of reasonable limit they will be putting in the future. Next, talking about houses again, since we'll talk about population, seems that houses can support one family, which is going to be a male, a female, and some of the expanded families like children. But they also have townhouses, which are going to be larger, and these can have two families. Rebellions can happen here. It's already implemented based on loyalty system. Villagers can turn into bandits. They can loot and burn houses, but eventually they will run off the edge of the map and they will just leave, right? If things get a little bit too dangerous. Also, you cannot execute people. Unfortunately, you just can't kill them if they commit bad things. But I suppose that if there's like a war or a rebellion, this is something that will be possible to do via actual combat. Now, sorry if it's a bit noisy here. I got my little baby daughter always with me, right? So, yeah. Well, that's what it is when you're a dad, right? Anyway, talking about game mechanics now, and they said that we are going to have some kind of law system, but it's not exactly going to be like Frostpunk. It will more be acting on loyalty and happiness. So you are going to have the ability to set up your own laws and policy, but as of right now, it's still work in progress. So they are going to have to work furthermore on that for more details. However, will it be possible to build multiple manors under which conditions, and how many units of retainers can we have? And are they tied to each individual manor? So manors are limited to one per region. The manor, I suppose, will be your sort of castle or the place which would be your headquarters, I suppose. But they do say that right now manors were going to have garrisons and retinues, and you're probably going to have 30 of them within a base level tower and 60 in an upgraded one. Will there be disease in the game? So yes, there was before a disease system, but they did not like it because it relied on the herbalists, and it was just way too easy for herbs to just cure diseases, so they want to make it a little bit more difficult, and they really want to make epidemics to be something that you would dread and something that would be difficult to get rid of. And these are going to be having a lot of effects, meaning that they are going to be destroying your populations the way it should be. And you can prevent epidemics from happening if your population has good standards of living, they have access to healthy food, the water is not too dirty, you have good infrastructures, then diseases will be less likely to happen. And if they do, they wouldn't be as dangerous and as impactful as if your colony or your settlement would be badly or poorly maintained. Next, do you have to upgrade manually through a pop-up? And as of right now, yes, it's just an upgrade button. It's going to make things a little bit easier, right? What is the role of the king? Will he appear in the game and possibly fight you? Can you overthrow him? So they say that right now it's still being decided. They're thinking about having some kind of battle against the king to take over the crown, but since the map are smaller than the kingdom, it will be the king who would have to come to you. Right now, he's not a character. He just grants points from which you can claim territories. This has been requested, but they're still considering about it, and it's probably also wouldn't be very realistic. Resources, do they rot? And yes, they do rot, and they will decrease their value over time to the point to which they are not going to be usable anymore, and they'll just be some kind of burn, just like in real life. There are no landfills planned in at this stage, but seasons will happen, and they are going to be working as you would expect, with harvest happening in late summer, plowing either in November, and firewood needed in winter. Otherwise, well, you are going to have problems, and people will die because it's too cold. Peasants will also work slower in the snow. Do other lords start at the same level as you? Yes, they do. How complex is the field and work management? And they do say that they want it to become a little bit easier here. Before, we had to assign peasants to individual field, and we had to tell them to plow and sow and harvest. This was a little bit too much of micromanagement here, so now you just assign them to a central farm, and they just do their own thing automatically, which I think makes a little bit more sense. Would there be any restrictions to the construction of city and village? Nope. Right now, there will be no restriction here. You can build your city and village the way you want them to be, which is, I think, which is one of the reasons why I'm so attracted to this game. The more freedom we are given, the more creative choices we are given, the better it's going to be. However, we will not be able to create our own state in the map. We'll have to be part of a larger kingdom, a feudal kingdom, with the way it was in medieval time. Now, it's also going to be possible to build our own castle and defending structures, though, but only after the early access launches, not right now. Now, there are plenty of other questions that they answer, but unfortunately, it will take a little bit of time. If you want me to cover those in a separate video, let me know in the comment section down below. That's all for this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you to Eric Ohl and Dr. Forbin for their contributions on Patreon. This has been the Eradicator. I'll see you guys later. A huge shout out to everyone who's been helping me out on Patreon and via the YouTube Joint Membership program. Creating content on YouTube involves continuous circles of ups and downs, and it is when we are the lower parts of the curve that your help really motivates me to keep on going. Your contribution really does make a difference, which is why in return I try to give back by offering backers access to my private Discord channel, automatic access to exclusive giveaways, or answering your questions during the show. You can help me out with as little as $1 a month, and any help is greatly appreciated. Thank you very much for watching again. This is the Eradicator. I'll see you guys later.